They're a generation of angry young Muslim men.
You can go to any youth on the street and say, do you believe in jihad? They say, yeah. Do you believe that Al-Qaeda are a terrorist movement? They say, no.
We're living at a time of war because the Western world's not letting anyone live in peace.
And on Christmas Day, one young extremist tried to turn his radical anger into terrifying violence. Umar Abdul Muttalib from Nigeria boarded a plane to Detroit with high explosives concealed in his underwear. Just 23 years old, Abdul Muttalib is the latest young Muslim to have attempted mass murder. He spent 3 years at London University. For this series, I've worked for a year investigating who these young people are and how they come to be radicalised.
Generation Jihad is smart, well-educated, living in places like Bradford, West Yorkshire, Glasgow.
I've tracked their networks around the world. It's a world where teenagers are being recruited via the internet and groomed for violent jihad. In Britain, the government has developed a controversial multi-million-pound strategy to prevent the spread of violent Islamist extremism. That's because, although they're a tiny minority, a small group of radicalised young men now constitute the single biggest threat to our national security. My journey began in West Yorkshire, home to 2 million people, also home to 3 of the 7/7 bombers who attacked London in July 2005. I wanted to find out why some of Britain's young extremists are prepared to support violence against their fellow citizens. Yorkshire is a proud place, I know, because that's where I come from too. Bradford, Leeds, Huddersfield, Halifax, Dewsbury, cities and towns still rich in their industrial heritage. Over the years, thousands of Pakistani families have also been proud to put down their roots here and make parts of these old mill towns their own. But recently, this area has come under intense scrutiny from police forces and intelligence services, not just from the UK, but from around the world. That's because West Yorkshire has become home to a generation of young jihadis and to Britain's youngest convicted terrorist. The terraced streets of Saviltown, a small community on the southern edge of Dewsbury, are home to 5,000 people. It's a largely Asian area, unremarkable in almost every way.
Saviltown is a very, very tight community. Everything that you do, everything that you say does get back to other people. If you're doing anything wrong, or if you're doing something great, if you've just graduated, if you get married, everybody knows your business.
Hamad Munshi went to Westborough High School, the local comprehensive. His classmates and family in Saviltown thought they knew Hamad well, an ordinary schoolboy studying for his GCSEs.
Well, Hamad was a normal boy, and the reason why I say this is because you'd never hear anything about him. The fact that nobody ever talked about Hamad, it's proof in itself that the lad himself was a good little boy who did listen to his parents and generally stayed out of trouble.
But from the age of 15, Hamad had been living a secret life. While his parents thought he was studying in his bedroom, he was logging on to extremist websites and chat rooms. He soon became radicalised and vulnerable to grooming by hardened jihadis. His private writings show how far he had gone.
The reason I have gone so early into this house of war is because of the beautiful act of fighting in putting Allah's word high above all. I do not want to stay in this country of disbelief. Please pray for me that I get martyred in a state of true faith.
Within months, he was wired into a serious jihadi cell. Without his parents knowing, he met a Bradford man who was one of the key figures in the network that was planning terrorist attacks in Europe and North America. But police had some of the group under surveillance. One summer afternoon, as Munshi was walking home from school, the police moved in.
His house is now being searched by police, investigating an alleged terrorist plot.
When I first heard about the house being raided, I was at home watching the news. This is when I first saw this, and I didn't believe it. I mean, there's just no way that this was happening to this family. When I did approach the street, when I did approach the house, there were a lot of people stood there. Everybody was just confused as to what was going on.
In his rucksack, the schoolboy was carrying 2 bags of ball bearings, similar to those used in suicide bombs. Police then searched his room. What was the evidence against Hamad Munshi? What did you find?
We found obviously the document on how to make napalm, which he'd created and shared. There was a number of pieces of information. One of them was how to make your own firearm, how to make your own submachine gun.
The teenager's arrest sent Savile Town into a state of shock. The Munshi family are well regarded here. Hamad's father and grandfather are both moderate imams who command great respect and authority in the community.
Maulana Yaqub, the grandfather, was very much, in a sense, liberal. I mean, you used to get a lot of people saying, oh, well, you have to do this, you have to do that. With Maulana Yaqub, it was a case of, well, why are you doing it? Understanding behind it, so when you did do it, you knew why you were doing what you were doing.
We know where the TV is.
Community policeman Mohammed Aziz never saw Munshi as a potential terrorist, far from it.
Whenever they wanted to do work.
I've known the family for a very long time whilst working in Dewsbury. I've known the grandfather, the uncles of Munshi. A very educated family and a very understanding family as well. From my information, this young lad's been radicalised by a group.
Hamad was definitely radicalised. I mean, look at him, he's 15 years old, he's a young kid. Hamad was groomed and it was done intentionally. They knew exactly what they were doing with Hamad.
We met the Munshi family several times while researching this programme, but they declined to be interviewed on camera. They said they and Hamad had suffered enough. The shock was still raw. Did Hamad Munshi's family have any idea what he was doing on the internet?
From what we spoke to them, no, they had no idea at all. Again, it's that warning, isn't it, about the internet and parents.
Teenagers isolate themselves, they go lock themselves in their rooms and they're on their little phone gadgets or they're on their internet. They're doing their own thing. And whilst mummy downstairs has got the big Indian channel on with watching her favourite Bollywood dances, oblivious to what her children are actually getting up to. And I think that we need to actually, that is a real issue in the Pakistani home.
Hamad probably wanted to be a big man. Hamad probably wanted to, get attention from other people to see, well, look, this is what it's like. This is the frustration. If you guys aren't going to do anything, then I'm definitely going to do something. He wanted people to see what was going on, and he wanted people to stand up, wake up, and notice what is going on in the world and how we're so isolated from his warped truth.
Hamad Munshi was found guilty of possessing information likely to be useful to terrorists. He was sentenced to 2 years, making him, at 18, Britain's youngest convicted terrorist. And Munshi wasn't the